Hey, it's Herbert. And you're listening to the About Last Night podcast, you slippery little son of a bitch. Oh, it's comedy in your ears, which we all love.
You're listening to the About Last Night podcast with my boy, Adam Ray. About last night.
Yeah, dude.
All right.
Listen to those fucking sexy pipes, dude.
That's right.
We got to get some vocals on the Songs of Solitude follow-up album.
Yeah, that's exactly what you don't need.
No, I disagree. I disagree, dude. I love to make up songs all the time and comedy ones, obviously, and just listening to all the tracks, which are so fucking good, by the way, dude.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah, it's like as if we needed an extra reminder that you're one of the best living sax players on the planet. Like, so smooth, dude. And I'm just sitting there like, and some of them they're all just so, unique and special in their own way. And I feel like, I definitely want to get like a breakdown of the tracks from you and like what went into each one. But, I'm just like sitting here smoking a little J, listening to the tracks and just like making up like words in my head to them. Cause they're so
nice.
Some of them I'm like, oh, this is going to be my bathtub track. Some of them like, this is going to be my walking track. This is going to be the baby making track for sure. Actually, that could be all of them.
It could be all three of them. That's right. That's right.
Where are you, by the way?
I'm in my studio, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, wow.
It's just a loft space, about 24 by 24.
Yeah.
Got all my Pro Tools stuff here, my all my rack stuff there, couple of screens, some of my horns over there.
How many horns do you own?
Oh, too many.
Yeah.
the rest of them over here. Everything's basically kind of, within arm's reach. So whatever I'm working on, if I'm like, oh, I want bass flute, or I want alto, or I want baritone, or bass clarinet, or whatever, it's all basically right here.
I love that you're keeping Oh, go ahead.
I said I got a bunch of weird whistles and all sorts of, just bunches of different stuff.
Oh yeah, dude, well, I mean, even in yeah, you're like, there's a box of handy snacks over there. I think there's some
That's right.
We got everything you need in the studio. I love too that you're keeping some of the my friends, the Head and the Heart, which you guys know real well.
Sure.
They charity I went to high school with, and then got to know the rest of the band from just kicking it with them since they started, and seeing like their studio setups. It's like, I love when, and yours is in a similar vibe, where it's got a comfy, casual hangout vibe, but then you obviously got your corners where it's like very pro. Is that like intentional?
Yeah, I mean, I spend a lot of time up here, and so the things that that I surround myself with, 99.95% of them, approximately, is all stuff that I use on a pretty regular basis. I mean, like I've got the Portuguese flag back there, and the reason I have that back there is that originally I had the room flipped. And so my desk was back there, but during the winter, when the sun shifts a little lower, it would hit my eyes like at that top level. So I would have just a little breaker there, because I'd be like trying to do some work. I'd be doing this,
Yeah.
And so finally I flipped the room around, and on this side, I have a flag from Swaziland, from South Africa, which was given to me by some musicians down there. So the things that are in here are inspirational also for me. Like everything kind of has its own particular meaning. So I'm surrounding myself with things that I really vibe with, that inspire me from different places I've been, different people I've been around. I mean, let's not forget also Saxzilla. I mean, please.
Yeah, let's not forget. Hey, man, this
In my slightly stupid hat,
dude, that's fucking incredible.
and the hippo from the Flectones, and
Yeah,
photos, and some cool folk art from places that I've been given, and the Grugruks here is the Grugruks cover, and just my friend Weintraub does this thing called Instrument Head, which is super cool, and it's one of his pieces there. And that's kind of out. I really like that, but people get kind of freaked out by it, so I just leave it above the door. And it's really cool, man. I've got these letters from kids, like from places that that I've taught, and like some here, just kind of reminds me of them and their inspiration, and different posters and things, and some of the cats, Mingus and Charlie Parker, and Ornette Coleman, Dizzy Gillespie, Roland Kirk, Lester Young, Sonny Rollins, Eric Dolphy.
Yeah, I was going to ask who your guys were. Is that the wall of?
That's some of them, yeah. Wayne
Yeah.
Shorter, Coltrane.
Wow.
So yeah, just a bunch of cool stuff. Photo that I took.
You took that? What is that? Is that a larynx? What is that?
No, it's a spin photo where I actually throw the phone in the air and spin it, and it takes the photo and kind of gives you this whole circular kind of motion to it.
So dope, dude.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. And also it's a weird. So I got this weird horn from somewhere in the
From a
islands.
Shabbat dinner? Is that a shofar? What is that?
No, it's kind of a shofar, but it's from a different place. It's got a different kind of thing at the front of it. Sounds a little different than a shofar.
Yeah.
But a couple of panderos from Brazil, another Flectones hippo, the killer rabbit from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, of course.
Oh my God, that's incredible. Little peanuts lunchbox.
I'm a big fan of Snoopy, so we got that. We got these little guys up here,
God.
looking very weird, and prayer flag, and I'm not sure if this is a PC show or not, but I have
it is not at all.
Good. Well, this is a cockarina that was brought back for me from somewhere. And
by the way, that was going to be my next question. How many cockarinas do you have?
just the one.
Yeah. All right. Well, something to shoot for. Wait till next tour.
Yeah, cool assortment. That's right. Cool assortment of flutes. This one in particular, man, is one of my favorites. And so it's got three sounds on it, because it's got a drone also.
Oh, wow. Dude, that's
so
sick.
it's pretty wild. A couple of African drums that a friend of mine sent me. It's kind of a kalimba, but if you notice the tines, if you will, the you might be able to see them a little better if it's in the light here.
Yeah.
The tines are actually saw blades. Whoops.
There we go.
Sorry, you still there? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Sorry, the tines are saw blades, like these old.
Wow.
You don't want to really cut yourself on these, but it sounds pretty cool.
And that's from where?
It's from somewhere in Africa. I can't remember where it was, and my friend got it. Another photo I took in New Orleans of one of the Mardi Gras Indians. This was 2009 that I took that. And, different keyboards and things. I got this little piece of folk art from New Orleans from this, used to be a guy, Mr. Okra Man, and he would ride around and say, I got juicy fruit, like through this big speaker. And he's actually on the Grugruks King album.
Oh, that's
he would
sick.
drive by every day, so we paid him to be able to use some of his stuff. And I had a bird in here. I had to just fix that because I had a bird come into my studio yesterday and fly around, and he kind of knocked that off kilter. I got a whole wall of percussion stuff over here also.
Damn.
Just from different places I've been around the world. And
yeah, I was gonna say, how much stuff do you actively try to collect, or is it just over the years you became such I don't know if hoarder is the right word, because like who wouldn't receive the all those dope things you just showed. Like, is it just, I mean, enough gigs, enough people you meet, probably like any business. I mean, I feel like comedy and music are synonymous in this way, where it's like the amount of gigs and shows and things and people that like, you know, grow to just idolize you, that they're just like, please, like, I'm sure there's a closet full of stuff that hasn't even made its way to that room yet, or that you just are like, man, I've got enough cockarinas. Like, I can't take another one. This, you know, like,
yeah, I can't take another
hey,
cocarina.
kid,
Yeah.
I appreciate the gesture. It's weird that you're 10 and you're giving me this, but you know what? Like, maybe when you're 20 and it's legal, you know.
Well, you know, I mean, I kind of collect stuff from my travels.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, kind of, I'm not really a hoarder, I don't think.
No, that was a joke. Yeah, for sure.
But I just like weird stuff, like this, for example. I was playing this on something yesterday. It's basically a piece of metal. It kind of looks like a boat or a pea pod that's been split open.
Yeah.
And is a wrought iron metal piece. It sounds like. Or from the top.
Dude, that's dope. I feel like
There's all sorts of different sounds on it. So you can do a lot of different things. Like, so all the stuff that I have over there, I've used at one time or another. And so,
for real?
so when I travel somewhere, I'm just kind of looking for stuff that I don't have. I've got a plethora of shakers and pieces of metal.
We ever just bring something on the road and be like, yo, Dave, I'm thinking for 41, open with the cocarina. And
yes, that's probably not going to happen. But
yeah, well, not with that attitude. But are there things like that you'll find and you'll go, oh, whether it's on B or this show I got coming up in Nashville, like it'd be a perfect time.
Yeah, so check out to break certain things out. Yeah, of course. Yeah, so these couple of things, these are kind of unique. These are from different lands. So this is a Camel Bell.
Oh, dope.
Like a handmade Camel Bell. And I don't even remember where I found it, but I don't know if you can see it's you know, you can see the carving marks on it.
Yeah.
And but it sounds great. You know? And then one of my other favorite pieces, I got a couple of years ago, I was in Peru, and I was up in Cusco. My wife and I went to Machu Picchu. And so a friend of mine in Lima had called a friend of hers in Cusco and said I was up there. And so he called and said, hey, do you want to do a clinic at this local sort of art house?
Yeah.
I said, well, all my stuff's in Lima. I said, but if I could borrow a horn or two, you know, I said, sure, I'd give it a try. So we went 11,200 feet.
Wow.
And I gave this solo clinic. And when I was done, and they had like 20 people there. And he said, man, I'm you know, he said, with just a couple of days notice, this is the best we could do. He says, but he said, I hope you had a good time. I said, man, 20 saxophone players in Cusco.
Yeah.
You know, what's going on? And he said, oh, we're everywhere. He said, we could have packed this place with 40 or 50 people had we had like a week.
Wow.
He said, but people were busy. But apparently the saxophone in Peru is like the most popular instrument, which I didn't know until I went there. And then I was shocked to find out that it's this hugely popular instrument. So another instrument that they have there. So I got done and they said, we'd like to give you a token of our appreciation.
Yeah.
I said, okay, you know. So they go over to the windowsill and they bring back this.
What the fuck?
The jawbone of an ass. Literally the jawbone of a donkey. So check it out, man. So there's an instrument called the Vibraslap.
Yeah.
That is patterned off of this sound, right? So basically you hold it from the front of the jaw and you hit the back of it.
Oh, that's sick.
Right? And you can also take out one of the teeth and use it like a guiro.
Dude, that is
right?
sick.
Isn't that crazy? So they gave this to me and I'm thinking, thank you. I think.
Yeah.
But no, I love it though. I mean, this is the kind of shit that I really like. and just kind of the weirder the better, you know.
When
And so
when
I
did
was
your
thinking,
oh, go ahead.
well, on the way back, I was thinking, okay, how am I going to get this through customs first
Of
of all?
course, yeah.
And so I just put it on the top of my luggage, like on the top of my check bag, put some clothes in between so nothing would snap. Not that I could think of anything that would snap this thing anyway. It's very thick. And, you know, as soon as I got through customs, I looked and it was there and I was like, okay,
Wow.
great. It made it home.
That's amazing.
But there's
dude.
no meat on it. You know, there's nothing organic on it. There's no seeds or anything. So I don't know.
Now, how long does, I mean, you know, you have to be, how long does it take for your musical ear? And, you know, from the talented musicians that I know, I feel like they all, I mean, it's like any, you know, great talent. I feel like there's a piece of it in you that shows itself early on, but like to have the ear to receive something like that. And even with the little P boat you were showing me, to recognize that like there's value in that, or to be able to use it for something. That's not everybody, because I'm sure you would show to a lot of non-musicians and maybe even people that do it, but not to the extent and level that you're at. Like you'd show them that sound and they'd be like, yeah, I don't get it, you know? So like, when do you, that's a special, you know, I feel like, you know, listening.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. Well, you know, I'm curious about things, you know, and so I'm curious in how we can, or that I can use sound effectively and somewhat mysteriously sometimes too. On one of the tunes, this EP that I have that just came out called Songs of Solitude, on one of the tunes, it's the second tune, there's this kind of do do sound going on, do do, right? And what that is,
It's on quiet, the track Quiet, right?
it's on quiet, yeah, are these two soda bottles filled up to various degrees of water to be tuned. And so I filled them up. So there's 3 tones for each section. So I filled them up and I overdub them. But even just like this. You know, so you can start doing stuff. I've got another Trader Joe's ginger brew, which is lower. So, you know, you can fill them up and they change pitch.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's a lot of different ways of doing that. Sometimes I'll tap the glass bottle also with something, with the pencil or a pen, and get that kind of sound. So I'll do things that are literally within arm's reach. There's another tune. I can play this for you through Pro Tools. So it's now it's just called Bass Clarinet Tune. So when I started this, everything was me. So when I started this, let's see if I can show you what it was.
I do love too this, and I just want to say real quick, like the album is so good and available right now for people to go get.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Songs of Solitude. Yeah. People can go now. They can go to earuprecords.com, which is my record label.
Yep.
Or my website, jeffcoffin.com. It's on all streaming services. It's a 3-song EP, again, called Songs of Solitude.
Yeah, it's brilliant, man. And I mean,
thank you, brother.
Obvious. Oh, dude, it's so good. And you mentioned how curious you are just with music in general. I'm curious if your curiosity is what led to this EP, because you put in there, which I want to read some of, about how music is the way that you personally dealt with like the shutdown of all this, and that you're grateful for these moments of you say introspection and reflection, and the opportunity to find creative ways to be creative with people from afar, moving forward in the midst of all this unknown and upheaval. Found myself asking, how do we want our collective light to shine? And then, I mean, even the poem you wrote, I'm assuming above that, right? Can I read that?
Yeah.
A flower blooms, the tree grows toward the sky, a bird sings her song, a blade of grass grows underfoot. The cloud comes and goes as it pleases. Water flows, the butterfly spreads their art on the breeze. A grape grows into luscious fruit. The bee gathers for the hive. The wind reminds us of change. The star twinkles in the night sky. Seasons come and go. The sun shines her light. The moon waxes and wanes. And we breathe in and out until we don't. All these things and more in their own beautiful, simple mystery. Are they not all songs of solitude? fucking gorgeous. Hey,
Oh,
Dave,
thank you, man.
hey, Dave, you might have to fucking swap roles for the next tour, man. We got another lyricist on board. So, I mean, dude, like, I mean, again, people probably assume that like when you do it all like you do, that you have that skill set in your repertoire. But how much of this album was truly, or EP, I guess, these songs out of whether it's boredom or a need to create, right? I think that's all artists can truly attest to that right now. I mean, even as a comic, it's like I'm doing these Zoom stand-up shows. I'm doing more podcasts. I'm doing like trying to find more ways to just put content out online. Not only because, you know, you recognize, and I'm sure with musically too, you go, people want that right now because they are starved for it, but also we're starved for it. So you got to find ways to keep yourself fulfilled.
Right. Do you call it sit-down comedy, actually?
Hey, dude, you can't be funnier than me on my own podcast. Yeah, it's
no, it doesn't come out of boredom for me at all.
Right.
I'm very rarely bored in my life, and
you seem like that.
Yeah, there's always something to do. There's always something to create. So, but they do come out of sort of that quiet introspection. When I'm home, which isn't very often most of the time, I know that, like, when I start to write music, I know that sort of the waters have calmed. But if I'm home for like a week or even a week and a half, there's usually no way in hell that I'm going to get to writing music because there's just so much other stuff going on. So it's usually anywhere from 10 days to 2 weeks where I come in here and I'm like, okay, I've got an idea, you know? And so this stuff, it all came from us being home.
Right.
And it happened very organically. I went to the keyboard and used just the keyboard bass, just came up with kind of a bass ostinato figure, just something really simple. And just thought, I'm just going to like sort of create over that. The first tune, and they were written in order. Stillness, I was looking, I'm very interested in Indian music, East Indian music.
Yeah.
And so it's based off of a raga that I was looking at. I don't even remember which one because I was looking at a bunch of them. But I was like, well, this is kind of a cool sound, you know? So I thought, well, what can I create out of this? So I just looped this bass part and I found this interesting melody, and I record as I do it. So I use, the program I use is called Pro Tools, which is a recording software. So I use it as a tool to write with. And so when I kind of sussed the tune out, I called my buddy Victor Krause, who's a brilliant bass player. And I said, hey, man, I said, if I send this over, I said, it's like this beautiful, easy part. I said, but your sound is what I want to hear on this.
Right.
And so he sent me over, you know, he just put the thing down, which probably took him 4 or 5 minutes, and just gave me some beautiful parts to work with. And so I put the stuff together there. I got my wife on harmonium on one tune. I've got my other friend, Jordan Perlson, playing an Indian frame drum called the Hajira on the third tune. And so I'm layering different woodwinds in there also, and just kind of exploring sound, exploring sonic sound, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it came from. And then I'm literally in the middle of 22 pieces of music. You know, I mean, these sheets of
God damn.
that are here, like all these tune names, you know, these are all individual tunes. This is just a form, another whole sheet of individual tunes.
Yeah.
This is a big band tune that I'm doing, and then like one that just involves 5 saxophones and rhythm section. So I'm literally in the middle of 22 different tunes that I haven't had time to get to. Some are brand new.
Yeah. I was going to ask,
so
like, how many did you write? Because I feel like this is always, and I've even heard this with DMB, like that when you guys are putting an album together, there's always some that just don't make it on because of,
sure.
I mean, I don't know what the rhyme and reason is, but well,
everybody overwrites, I think, you know,
right.
Everybody tries to write more stuff than needed so that you can take the best of what you've got, you
sure.
know? And, so for me, like these singles, if you will, I've started to release singles on my label.
Yeah.
And, we've already released a couple. And, so I'm, you know, I just have all this information that I'm trying to get through and get done. So I'm sending stuff to Brazil,
wow.
Colorado, New York, LA, Vegas, blah 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 blah. So I'm sending this stuff all over the place. A lot of guys here in Nashville that I'm using also. I'm just trying to get some cats some work and pay them a little bit of money.
Good for you, man.
Because everything is drying up, you know. The ITA studio streams that I do a studio stream every Friday at 7.
Yeah.
It's called In the Studio. And so I bring people in here and I talk about a tune. I'll break it down, open it up. And I take donations on that site also. And all that money goes back to local Nashville musicians that are out of work. And so I'm trying to do my part, you know, and trying to keep all that going. But this stuff that I'm doing, I'm going to play a tune for you here.
Yeah, please.
I'm going to plug in. I won't be able to hear you for a second, but I'm
okay.
You'll be able to hear the sound coming from Pro Tools.
Okay, great.
And I'll be able to talk to you through this microphone here. You'll be able to hear me.
Love it.
And so this is a tune that I brought in, again, literally like just whatever I could grab that was within my reach.
Yeah.
And so it started off with bass clarinet. One of the bottles, I don't remember what I was doing with the bottle, that metal percussion thing, some shakers. So this is the very beginnings of this tune, okay? You can hear me through this, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Thumbs up. You can hear this microphone?
Yep.
I'm going to take the reverb off of it.
Can you hear me or no?
Okay, so I'm going to play you a little of this tune here.
Okay.
So I can hear myself here too. All right, so here you go. So I've got the bass clarinet going through some weird kind of loop also.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Weird kind of effect. Right, so that's how it started.
That's dope.
And then I started to add clarinet, piccolo, alto flute, bass flute, some different claps. Let's see, what else have I got in here? There's a little vocal line later on that's kind of woven through. Oh, melodica, which is like a wind-blown keyboard. It's kind of like a tube. A guy named Jacob Collier plays one quite a lot. And so then it became this. And here comes the melody. Right, so
Dude,
we have that.
Sick.
And then what I did is I added some bass to it. My buddy Felix Pastorius, who plays with me quite a lot. We've recorded a lot and toured together a lot. So he was in town, and I said, "Oh man," I said, "Let's throw some bass on. Let's double what's going on." Right, so it starts to fill it out. Right.
Ooh,
so
yeah,
then
dude.
I was like, okay, well that's cool. I like that. And so then I got with the great drummer Chester Thompson, who lives here in town. Chester played with Genesis and Weather Report, Frank Zappa, George Duke. I mean, he's monstrous. And so I said, well, Chester, why don't you play over this? And so he said, because the tune originally was pretty short, because it was just a little experiment. And he says, is this as long as it is? It was like 3 minutes long, or maybe 2.5 minutes long. I said, yeah. I said, kind of. I said, it's just, that's what it is. And
yeah.
And I said, should it be longer, do you think? He said, well, from a purely selfish standpoint, I'd love to play on it. So I said, okay. I said, give me an hour. So in Pro Tools, I did a bunch of editing, put it together, and basically, it's like a 5.5 minute tune now. So I said, all right. I said, well, I'll send it to you. So now this is with Chester playing drums in addition to all this other stuff. This is what we have going forward now. So I put a little bass out front.
Oh, yeah, dude.
gives it this whole crazy funky thing. And then,
dude, you
I
might have
talked
to
to
write
my
the
buddy
theme for
down
my new
in Brazil.
podcast, dude.
Bernardo Aguilar, and he plays with my friend Carlos Malte in this group called Pife Moderno. It's Pife Moderno, and it's this incredible fife and drum band out of Rio. And so I said, "Hey, man," I said, "I'd love to get you on this." So, so I just got this. I just got his tracks yesterday. He sent me 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 tracks of percussion, including the Brazilian berimbau, which looks like a bow and arrow that you play. And so this is some of what that adds. Check this out. So this is the whole thing. Now this is all the sounds together.
Yeah, dude.
Into the psychedelics, you know?
Man. Oh yeah, man.
So he gave me all that. So that's going through. And then at the end, he did this incredible thing where he starts like kind of juxtaposing this different kind of ostinato rhythm over what I'm doing. And so what I'm doing is I'm fading that rhythm in so that at a certain point, this is like the last, I don't know, was it last minute or so of the tune? Last minute and 13 seconds of the tune. And so the way that this kind of thing kind of comes in, and then it's got all this kind of earth going on through the thing. So check out this last minute plus. Yeah. It's almost like there's a samba band coming up.
Welcome to King Squaro Hotel. May I have your last name, please?
Good morning, ma'am. Can I help you?
Oh my, what happened?
Bellmen are clumsy and stupid.
Stella Bellman. You've had this job since high school, right?
Well, actually, now I am the bell captain.
Oh.
All right, kid. You ready for check-ins?
I was born.
I think he was gonna say I was born ready.
Steve, the captain. Captain Steve.
The closest thing we have to a god on earth, Gunther Gashamane!
It's worse than I thought. He's a complete slimeball, right?
Oh, yeah, no question.
Do you feel my foot on your foot?
That's not me.
There's something under the table that feels like a foot.
What are you doing right now?
I'm working.
I got a promotion. I just lied to Kelly.
Why would you do that?
I don't know, man. I just want another shot. Sid Whitman worked his way up the ladder and bought the hotel.
Mr. Boss!
Do me a favor. Take it easy on the bellman, would you?
I'd rather have crack guard melt my balls.
Take care, boys. I mean, it's a huge scam. And those girls were in on it, too.
Don't you want to know what our bodies are capable of?
Girl, yes, definitely.
I just work here during the day, but my nights is off.
Let's do this! Gunther is conning everyone with Spirit Fresh.
You broke into a guest room.
This is unacceptable.
He has been impersonating a manager, and that is a felony.
I don't think that's a felony.
He should be fired.
Get set!
Bunch of really real G's, burning trees till we low, sitting by 45 like I'm Jordan on the floor. Here we go, guess the brain is what they say my name for.
I mean, I'm not sure he's ready for...
Shut up, bitch.
With our minds, we begin to urinate, and then, for real, into our pants.
I'ma forget Come on.
Dude.
Bear and bow at the end, right?
Oh,
Hey, someone
yeah,
unplug
man.
so I can hear you again.
Yeah, dude. Dude, that was impressive as shit. Thanks for breaking down, too, how you just, I mean, everything had its place and how it fit in there.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Seeing how you guys build, I mean, that's like, that was a nice little quick clinic, which I know you do a lot of. Didn't know that you were teaching, by the way, as well, like over 300 plus clinics, I think you've done, like you said, in all over the world. I mean, even just right there, I was like, oh, I think I'm taking one of his classes right now. Am I going to get charged for this shit? Because you're so, you so effortlessly go into, you can't help it, dude. It's like it's such a part of you that you're like, let me just show you this thing. Actually, let me just take you all the way back to how it started. And like, really just like, but I love that, dude. And especially with starting with the bass clarinet and having that like through line, because that was my first instrument I picked up in the 5th grade was the clarinet.
Oh, wow.
And played for 4 years. And then my mom, but this is why I started playing it. My mom encouraged me to play the clarinet. Like you, by the way, I wanted to play the drums. Didn't actually ever play them, but I know that you actually got into it. And then, or no, folks didn't let you do it, right?
Right. Yeah, it wasn't going to happen. Yeah.
Similar thing, clarinet though. My mom was like, play that. I was like, it seems cool. The woodwind sound like just spoke to me right out of the gate. But I had this problem where I would practice all the time and then get in class for the tests, and then it was Squeak City. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And so I couldn't get over that. But my mom, her whole game plan was for me to eventually segue to the sax, because she's this instrument is sexy as fuck. Even she dated a guy at one point that like bought me a sax, but it was like, it looked like he found it on the side of the freeway and was like, hey, I'll get some brownie points with this woman's son. And like, there was a reed on it that was like already wet. I was like, dude, I appreciate the gesture, but I'm going to stick with the clarinet for the time being. But I went to a music camp where they let you try other instruments. And I remember, dude, getting a little taste of the sax. To this day, I feel it's probably definitely one of my regrets that I did not try to stick with it, because watching you play, dude, and just, you know, having a little bit of experience with the clarinet and the, it's you know, comfy. It's not too, I don't know, dude. It's really, and then to me, what the big obstacle was getting a strong pair of lungs and getting the breathing down. Because when I watch you play, man, it's, you know, and I've been to so many shows and you know, shit, man, seeing you back in the Bela Fleck days, and your breathing is like, I don't know how you got that good, or if that's something that again is like a part of the whole you know, pie that you just kind of get when you have this innate talent for music, or is that something you spend a lot of time trying to get good at?
Yeah, I mean, anybody that achieves, you know, anything at a high level, I mean, there's tons, thousands and thousands of hours that go on, you know, behind the scenes with all that. So yeah, I mean, I've studied all of that for as long as I can remember now, you know, and I still study it. I still work on fundamentals and thinking about those things, and intonation and articulation and breathing and you know, the whole thing. It's never ending. It's always a process. And so with the teaching thing, yes, I have to reinforce all that with my students. I've been teaching at Vanderbilt now for 5 years. I'm going into my 6th year in the fall.
Wow.
And I love it. I love working with students. I love talking to them and getting inside their heads and hearing what they're thinking. And, you know, I feel like I'm good friends with all my students.
It's awesome.
Even though I hold their feet to the fire, you know, we have a lot of fun making music. And to me, if it's not something you enjoy doing, you know, especially if you're thinking about doing it as a profession, you know, for me, it should be enjoyable, but it should also be something that you strive to get better at as you're going along with it, you know?
Yeah.
And so I can make my students a lot better. And I hear it in each and every one of them. I'm like, wow, when they're working on the stuff that I'm telling them, I'm like, wow, it really works.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say, how many times are you like giving out advice and being like, oh shit, like, yeah, that is actually applicable, or like, that was a fucking really profound thing.
Pretty
that
much every time. Yeah, pretty much every time. Yeah, just making it up as I go along.
Yeah. But also, it's like, you know, so much, and just from living and doing it, that it's like, I mean, I know you have this big 5 that you have for, I don't know if
Yeah.
it's for all your clinics with listening, tone dynamics, rhythm and time, articulation and harmony. Did that,
Yeah.
when you started to teach, were you like, all right, let me get some sort of a curriculum down, or am I just going to go in and try to wing it and be like, and basically play for an hour and be like, do that, class dismissed, you know?
Right. Well, a little bit of all of that, to be honest with you. When I first started doing clinics, I was an education major at North Texas and a music ed major. But when I got out, I didn't really feel like I had anything to tell anybody yet, because I didn't have any experience as a musician other than just being in college, And so it wasn't until after I started playing with the Flecktones in 1997 that I started doing workshops and clinics. And so at first I was just doing listening clinics, because I thought, well, these students probably haven't heard a lot of this really classic stuff. So I would go in and talk about it and ask them what they were hearing. And so we would kind of unfold music in that way, which I still do from time to time.
Yeah.
I was also teaching up in Maine at the Maine Jazz Camp, which was, pardon the pun, instrumental in my developing as
You know what? Don't pardon the pun. That was intentional. And I know you know what you were doing. And fucking, you only did this podcast to get that line in there. And I'm okay with that.
You're on to me. You're on to me. I can't slip anything by you, can we?
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. That's
And so I was working with a bunch of high school and junior high students at this 2-week camp every summer, which was awesome and amazing on every level. And so that's where I started I kind of used them as guinea pigs. I was like, well, what if we do this? Try to do this listening class, this clinic, blah, blah, blah. And so I started doing that. And then I was, there was something called the International Jazz Educators Association, the IAJE, International Association of Jazz Educators. And it was in Toronto, and this would have been, God, I don't know, it was years ago. I have no idea, 10, 15 maybe years ago. And so I had submitted to do a listening class, and they got back to me and said, hey, we've already got someone doing a listening class, but we really want you to present. Could you do something on saxophone pedagogy? And I said, of course, I'd love to. Thinking, oh God, that's the bane of my existence. That's the last thing in the world I want to do. But saying yes is a really important thing.
Right.
And because I knew that if I said no, then I wasn't going to get to present. And so I really wanted to present. So I went up, I stayed with some friends of mine in Toronto. So you accept like 9 months ahead of time, because they've got to put everything together, blah, blah, blah. So all this time I'm thinking, what am I going to talk about? So it's literally the day of my presentation. I have nothing. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to wing it. It's going to be horrible, but I'll get through it and I'll figure out something,
Right.
So I'm literally in the shower before I have to go to go on. I'm naked in the shower.
Yeah.
All soapy.
Yeah.
That's the end of the story.
Yeah. Fine, dude. Hey, did not need a button to that story. Yeah. Actually, this has been Jeff Coffin on the About Last Night podcast. Go ahead and close up shop. I got some things to attend to. Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, I'm screwed, man. Like all this time, all this effort that they've put into like putting my name in the thing, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to crater. It's going to be like a bad night for you, or maybe a good night for you. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, okay, well, what are the things that students need? Like, what are the fundamental elements? So I started thinking about these books, like 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, like this, that, and the other thing. All these different books are like 5 of this, 7 of this, 6 of this. So I thought, okay, well, if there's kind of an umbrella over everything, like people can remember basically 3 things. Right. These 3 diamond points that a friend of mine had told me about. So I thought, okay, well, if they can remember 3, maybe they can remember 4. And if there's a blanket over the top, it's all 5. It's just on one hand, And so I thought, okay, the big 5, what would they be? So I knew that listening was the very most important one. I started thinking, okay, well, tone is related to dynamics. So tone, that's your identifier. And I started thinking, okay, well, rhythm and time, that's like kind of a combination. You can't have one without the other.
Right.
And then there's articulation. That's the clarity of everything. Not only clarity of what you're playing, but the clarity of an idea, of an intention. And then harmony, which I look at, rather than thinking about scales and modes, I think of harmony as the relationship between sounds.
Yes. Okay. I was thinking of between like the sounds with the audience and like not kind of
That's
being...
part of it also, but that's
Okay,
that's
cool.
kind of the big picture of harmony. And so you can get more specific in there. So I'm thinking, okay, well, these are the 5 fundamentals of music. Interestingly enough, they're also the same 5 fundamentals of a spoken language.
Dude, I was just going to say, you are breaking down stand-up comp like the 5 essentials for stand-up comedy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's very
and
synonymous.
so it's intertwined like that. So when we talk about music as being a language, we are literally talking about music as being a language.
Yeah. Hey guys, Adam Ray here. Hope you're enjoying this episode of the About Last Night podcast with the one and only Jeff Coffin of the Dave Matthews Band. Did want to let you guys know, as we discussed, Jeff, his EP is out right now called Songs of Solitude. Played some tracks on the pod. Gonna put links in the description for the podcast on YouTube and iTunes. You got to go get this, man. I've already got it. I already shared it. 3-song EP called Songs of Solitude, released from Jeff's record label, Ear Up Records. It's such amazing music, man. I wish I had a better word to describe it, but as he described in this episode, the way that he built each song, the way that he approaches a track and layering instruments and finding the right sound for the right moment. It's pretty spectacular. And this guy's one of the best in the biz. And you can get this EP, Songs of Solitude, on his website, jeffcoffin.com, where he's got so much other goodies. He teaches Skype and Zoom lessons to aspiring musicians. All that info is on his website, jeffcoffin.com. Ear Up Records has many artists and other projects inside of their record label. That tab is also on his site, jeffcoffin.com. And, of course, Dave Matthews Band tour dates, which has been announced on hold for the time being. But all that stuff is at jeffcoffin.com. He's one of the best in the biz. He's killing this episode. And I can't wait for you to get his EP and love it. Whether you are in the shower, doing dishes, I've just been listening to it when I've been taking walks. It's chill, feel-good music, man. And from one of the best in the biz. You can't ask for more than that, And it's not even Hanukkah yet. All right, jeffcoffin.com. Go get it. Songs of Solitude, his EP. And now let's get back to the episode. I think I just spit up on the mic.
And when you think about harmony in particular, the way that sounds interact with one another, the combination of sounds, the relationship between sounds, that's what harmony is to me. And so I did that clinic that day, and I continue to do it to this day because it's something that's never ending. Now there's other clinics I give talking about taking the mystery out of improvisation, talking about the way that arpeggios, which in a scale is the 1st degree, the 3rd degree, 5th degree, and the 7th degree. Usually there's 7 notes in a scale, like a major scale.
Right.
Do, 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 do. That's the 8th note, right? So 1, 3, 5, 7. That's the arpeggio of the chord.
Yeah.
That's the 1st, the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th. That makes up the foundation of the chord. So I look at them as a skeleton, like a vertical skeleton.
Yeah.
Without the skeleton, like the body is just a blob. So getting students to understand that. So I get into this whole thing of taking the mystery out of improvisation by using arpeggiations and how they connect one chord to the next, how one skeleton connects to the next skeleton. And so, yeah, I'm deep in the education realm. I love it. I love teaching, love working with students.
How do you gauge improv in music? I know jazz is like obviously, highly regarded as an art form that is like, right? Improv is like the true kind of core of what jazz exudes, or no?
The improvisational element is deep in jazz, yes. But there's improvisation in every style of music in the world.
Right.
Whether you're in Mali, whether you're in Brazil or Argentina or Ireland, or where, there's improvisation in every style of music. In jazz, quote unquote jazz, which is a large umbrella for a lot of different styles of music, the improvisational element is front and center. Whereas, like, if you think about pop music, a lot of times it's dealing with lyrics, form, structure. There might be a solo or two, maybe.
Yeah.
That's one of the unique things about Dave Matthews Band, is that we get to improvise a lot. And
I wanted to ask you how much versus a normal, like, you know, and I guess, you know, jam band, when people, you know, throw that term on a group that allows for improv to happen that frequently, coming from the background you've had and with Bale and the Flecktones and now DMB, is it like, is it just like a musician's dream to be able to have those moments in the show versus just having it stick to the script every night?
Well, it's a combination of things. I mean, playing with that rhythm section, man, is out of sight, you know? I mean, Carter and Stefan and Tim and now Buddy on keyboards. I mean, that's a dream rhythm section for sure, man.
Yeah.
And so, yes, in a lot of ways, it is kind of a dream band in that sense that we get to improvise over that. I mean, over that complexity and depth of rhythm and that solidness of time that Carter has in his playing, and Fonz too in the bass. I mean, it's fantastic.
And you mentioned allowing for solos was a unique thing with this group, right?
Yeah, because I mean, in a lot of pop bands, that's really not the case. You know, groups like Fish have a lot of it. Flecktones have a lot of it. There's maybe a few other bands. You know, the Grateful Dead guys. There's a lot of improvisation there as well. But with Dave, it's different. You know, it's structurally different. The tunes are different. There's an asymmetry to the music that's really interesting, and I think that you find that a lot in jazz also. Kind of the only thing I really liken it to is the Sting record, "Dream of the Blue Turtles," when he had Branford Marsalis, Kenny Kirkland.
Oh yeah.
I think Daryl Jones was playing bass. So on and so, you know, I mean, these heavy improvisational geniuses of their instruments. And there was a lot of soloing on that record, Kenny Kirkland and Branford in particular. And so that, to me, I think was a very inspirational group for Carter and Leroy at the time also, and Dave, certainly. And so that kind of, this is kind of a fracture off of that, I think, that kind of took a different persona. And so, yeah, the asymmetry of it, the angularity of it, the influence of African rhythms, Dave being from South Africa also, the influence of funk and R&B, of straight ahead and avant-garde jazz, all that stuff is rolled into this group. Country, Southern roots, gospel music, it's the whole deal, you know? And so improvisation exists in this music as well, and could exist in a whole lot of other music. When I think of someone like, oh God, I'm totally spacing her name. She won like 1,000 Grammys this year. The young girl.
Shania Twain. Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish.
Yeah. Yeah. Just trying to think of, you know.
I love Billie Eilish. I think what she's doing is amazing, man.
Yeah, really special.
And I first heard the record, and I before the record came out, I checked out some of her singles. That's my mom. Tell her I'm not here.
My hotel phone. They're probably like, dude, we found another pizza box outside your room last night. Our cleaning staff tripped over it. Sorry, but it'll stop.
So when I hear her stuff, she reminds me of like a jazz singer also. Her pitch, her timbre, the way she sings very softly, it's almost like a Chet Baker kind of thing going on, you know. And it just sounds improvisational to me on many levels. I'm really drawn to it. Groups like Radiohead also, really drawn to them. You know, groups like Portishead I was into for a long time. Sigur Rós, Bjork, who I adore.
Oh yeah,
she's a genius on so many levels, man. It's profound. So this music is improvisational. Make no mistake about it, man. This stuff, they do not just like, it's not formulaic. You know, they're coming to it from a different angle. And in Radiohead, when I first heard OK Computer, I told my stepsons, I said, these guys are going to go down as one of the greatest rock bands in history.
Wow.
You know, and people are looking at me like, Radiohead? Are you kidding me? I said, man, this shit is like nothing I've ever heard in my life. Yeah. And it couldn't exist at any other time either musically, because of the influences that came into that music.
Right.
And they've spawned this whole other, they're still geniuses, man. It's unbelievable.
How much of the improvisational style that was going down in Bela Fleck? Because they say, you know, you use everything that leads up to your next opportunity. Obviously, do you feel like if you hadn't been in a group that allowed you to kind of flex that muscle, that when joining DMB, you know, presented itself, that you wouldn't have even been considered? Because I'm sure that factored in, right?
Well, we knew those guys from doing opening dates in the late '90s.
Oh shit!
And Carter and Roy, Futureman, Wooten, and Vic go back even further than that. They grew up together in Virginia Beach, so there's been a long history with those two groups together.
Gotcha.
And so that's how I originally met those guys. So yeah, without the Flecktones, that would never have happened.
That's crazy. And yeah. was that so you were with the Flecktones 14 years, 3 Grammys, which, by the way, what's winning a Grammy like?
You know, it was interesting, man, because it was validating on one hand, and sort of, well, the first time we were nominated, we didn't win. And I remember not being disappointed, which I was really happy about, because I was like, oh, okay, well, this is important, but it's not why I'm playing music.
Right.
You know? So it's validating on one level, and exciting, of course, to get recognized. And but like they're in my house, man. They're just up in my office. They're not out here. It's not something that I'm like, oh, check out my Grammys.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
that would have been great if you pulled up one right from the bottom of your.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to show you my Grammys that I had right here, waiting for you to bring it up. Yeah. 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 I mean, that's way cooler to have at your disposal.
So, you know, it's exciting. I mean, it's incredible to win something like that. And so, yeah, I mean, we're very grateful, you know, we're all very grateful. And,
so 2000,
but it's not why we play.
Right. Of course. Well, for me, it's why I act. If I don't win an Oscar, this whole career's been a fucking waste. Yeah.
I'll make some calls.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So 2010, and you know Leroy, again, you said like the bands, you guys were all connected. Yeah. And so how does that?
It was 2008 when it happened. So I did both
right.
bands for 2 years. I did both bands for 2 years.
Is that that's a big, yeah, I was just going to say, like, I don't, because when they ask you, you want to, just what's going through your head? You're like, can I do both? I want to do both. Is it like, do you have to check in with the Flecktones to even see if they're cool with it? Or is it like, you have to make sure all the dates match up?
Well, when I got called, it was only supposed to be for 2 or 3 months, because Roy was, you know, supposed to recover from his injuries, you know?
Right.
And, so the Flecktones were off that summer, so it was easy for me to change stuff around and do it. And then when Leroy passed, you know, at the end of the year, they asked me to stay on, and I talked to Bela and the guys about it. And Bela said, you know, we're not doing a whole lot these days, so you should do it. You know, Vic is doing some of his own projects. I'm doing some of my own projects. He said, you should do this. You know, it's kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity. And he says, for the way you play, you know, he said, this is a great opportunity for you. And so, again, talk about a great leader, man. I mean, it's amazing, you know.
That's incredibly selfless, you know, like that's because who knows what would have transpired if you know, he hadn't been that generous with your next move. So then once you kind of make that choice, I mean, is it just, you know, I'm sure you like know their music well enough, but is it just like, are you just sitting down?
No.
Oh,
that
really?
Was the thing. No, I didn't know their music, you know. I knew a little bit of it because we had toured with them a little bit, but the stuff I was listening to was very different. I wasn't listening to pop music at all. And so when I got the call, I literally had less than 24 hours notice for the next gig.
Holy
And I was
shit.
in New York at a friend's wedding, so I had to have all my stuff driven from Nashville to Charlotte. I had to fly down from Boston. And so, yeah, it was a little crazy.
Did you just kind of sit on a couch and just listen to fucking hours of?
I just wrote stuff out. You know, Rashawn came in, Dave came in, and Rashawn and I just sketched out parts for a few days. Had them in a little 3-ring binder and a music stand and a light, and just, you know, played the gig. and just did what I had to do to get through. But everything that I had ever worked on allowed me to do that. You know, all the fundamentals, my ability to read, to write, to listen, et cetera, to play all the horns, and to say yes. You know, the power of yes, man, is very important, especially in our business. You know, that as well as I do.
Oh, 1,000%. How did that first gig go? As far as were you kind of set on, let me just get through this and kind of, you know, not take any chances or not, you know, feel out some of these improvisational moments, or did kind of Dave look at you and go, dude, you know what you're doing, jump in?
Yeah, that was what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would just watch for Sean for my cues, and just kind of went from there. But it was very seamless the first night, you know, and it stayed that way. So because they're such an established group, jumping into something like that, as long as you have your shit together, then you can do it, you know. And but I've never worked harder on a gig in my life, I'll tell you that.
Really?
Yeah. And then when I had to learn the catalog the next year, it's like 150 tunes, you know. So every day for a month, literally every day for a month, 3 or 4 hours a day, I just put my iPod on shuffle and start playing along.
Right.
Because the tunes are asymmetrical, meaning that you may have, you know, a particular.
I'm staying another night. Oh, no. Yeah. Thank you.
Not anymore. You're not.
That's a podcast first, by the way. Getting kicked out mid-pod.
That's awesome.
What
so
were
like
some?
It may
Oh,
be,
God. Yeah.
So maybe like there's a chorus like this. The tunes are asymmetrical. So it may be that in a chorus we would have a particular horn riff that in the next chorus doesn't happen, or it happens in a completely different way.
Right.
You know, so it's not like you can learn one lick and just apply it through everything else.
What were some of the toughest tracks to learn? I mean, they all seem pretty complex to me, but
one in particular, The Last Stop, it's insane.
Yeah, dude.
It's insane. I listened to it and I was like, dear God, what is this?
Yeah.
You know, and I played a lot of complex music, but I was like, man, I don't understand what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
I remember when we would play with them and they would play Rapunzel, and we would try to figure out like what time signature it was in, and we were like, what is going on with that? And so the way that Carter plays it, it's in 5, but it's like it's a mangled 5.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of a long 5 over a short 5, so you have all this polyrhythmic stuff going on, and so whether to hear something in 3 or 4, because there's a triplet going on. It's that African thing where there's like gong 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 gong. You know, so there's a 2 against 3 that's going on there. So do you feel it in 3? Do you feel it in 2? And then when this line comes up, well, that's in 3, but the rest of it's in 2. So, you know, you can't really write it out.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many songs that as a fan too, I know, you know, once you joined and, you know, there's certain moments in certain songs that the sax or flute just like stand out, right? A lot, quite honestly. I mean, that's what I think what's so brilliant about the group, and you mentioning like even solos being offered up, but the band can't exist without all the pieces like that, and everyone's got a purpose with every tune. But that like sax solo and you know, there's certain parts that really take it up a notch. And Ants Marching, you know, as a fan, you're like, that's like one of those staple moments for the sax.
Yeah.
That I think a lot of fans were listening to be like, I know for me, I'm like, if Jeff fucking nails this, we're good to go. You know what I'm saying? So what do you think about that at all going in? Or is it, you're just trying to get?
No, not so much. I mean, here's the thing, man. Like the fans are unbelievable, man. I mean, I can't thank the fans enough for everything, because here's the thing, man. Without the fans, we're playing for nobody, you know. And when I came in, the fans knew the music better than I did, and so I feel like it was the same with the Flecktones. I feel like I have an obligation to learn the music to such a degree that goes beyond their understanding of the music, you know, that that goes to a degree that what I'm giving them is at the highest level. And so I think we all feel that way. And so, they were very supportive while I learned the music. And I've got set lists that are like, okay, tenor on this, soprano on this one. I've got a sheet that has all the tunes listed that tells me what instrument I had to play on it. Because at first I didn't remember.
Yeah.
Because there's so many. And sometimes like I'd have a horn. It's every now and then it still happens. I'll have a horn. I'll be like, oh shit, this is on Barry. I'll have my soprano in my hand, And but I used to have to ask with Sean sometimes. I'd be like, is this tenor or soprano? I'd be like, soprano.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, okay, great.
Yeah, dude. He knows.
Just so much information. You know? And so thank God for him too, man. Because without him, I wouldn't have made it through all this.
Yeah, he's you and Rashawn were two guys I really chummed up that night. I met you guys at the Gorge when we got to come over to your hotel after and party after. Which, by the way, like, if any DMB fan is ever wondering what the true Make-A-Wish situation looks like, I got to live it. Standing side stage with an earpiece to get, which they allowed friends and family that got that backstage access to have. I was like listening to a live album with the DVD commentary throughout, you know what I'm saying? And like, because I wonder as a fan, you're watching you guys chat, and it's like every fan is just going nuts, not getting access to the on-stage discussions, being like, what are they talking about? Are they talking about what the crowd is like? Are they talking about the next song? Every fan's trying to guess the next track. And you guys were what really like surprised me, how cool and cash. I mean, you guys were obviously like, you're walking out to this, insane crowd at the Gorge, and how can you not just be like jacked up? But I think you guys had done one song. I think it was opening with Two Step maybe, or Don't Drink the Water. And it was a fucking epic, like there was a lot of solos, a lot of jams. And at the end of it, I remember you all kind of laughed, and Dave was like, all right, shit, you guys, are we done? That was a lot, and like you all kind of laughed, and somebody said like, how many more do we got to do? Because it was, and you all kind of laughed, and I was like, oh, these guys are real loose up here.
Yeah, it's loose. There's a lot of banter, a lot of funny things that go on. And it's, it's not unlike playing a jazz gig in a small club. I always tell people it's like a 7-piece small group that's playing in front of 20,000 people. It has that intimacy between us. And that's, I think, really important. That's an important element of this band and any other band, to have familiarity and intimacy within the members. And so it's important to us.
Do you know going into a given show when you get the set list where your solos are going to be, or how?
Usually, yeah. I mean, it's usually consistent night to night.
Yeah.
But we change a lot of stuff too.
I know you do.
And,
yeah.
And again, that's the improvisational element. The word improvisation has a Latin root of improvisus, which literally translated is unexpected or surprise. So when you're talking about, like, you as a comedian also, like when you talk about, live at the Improv, or like, I'm going to improvise my set, the idea is it's not tied to music. The word itself, unexpected or surprise, gives you all the permission you possibly need to create, and to come up with things that are unusual. And if you look at the great comics of all time, then you find that what they're giving you is unexpected and surprise, but it's not naive. Richard Pryor was a superbly intelligent human being.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't just willy-nilly. He wasn't just winging it up there. The unexpected and surprise comes from years of dedication to your craft.
Yeah.
John Belushi is another one.
Yeah.
Years and years honing your craft so that you can be free within that. So the unexpected and the surprise can occur within what you're doing.
That's could not be more spot on, because I mean, it's like I do a good amount of crowd work in my stand-up, whether it's a 20-minute set or an hour set. Just did a Zoom show yesterday and was picking apart all the people in the squares. It was a lot of fun. And it's, when people ask me like, oh, how do you get good at crowd work? It's just like you said, all the experience of 15 plus years of stand-up and getting those reps in and getting comfortable enough with crafting, writing, delivering jokes, but then just being on stage and going through all of it to trust myself enough, which I think similar in your world, where it's like trusting yourself enough in doing it all to where and having success with the surprise and unexpected, like you mentioned, that improvising isn't as foreign to you because you've had success in the other aspects of performing, to where you just trust yourself to navigate through any of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I mean,
it
if
has to
there's
be a flow,
yeah.
you know, and you can't achieve that flow without having the fundamentals together. So your fundamentals as a comedian are different than my fundamentals as a musician, but I know that there's overlap also.
Yeah,
of course, because you're dealing with language, you're dealing with timing, you're dealing with structure, you're dealing with form, you're dealing with the unknown also, and those are things that I love the old saying, "Leap and the net will appear."
Mm.
And so I think about that when I think about music, comedians, art, any of the arts, and you know, you have to be willing to go out there and kind of bomb every now and then, to have one of those nights where you're like, man, this shit just wasn't working.
Yeah,
you know, and through that you learn so much, and for me, I know that my weaknesses have had more to do with my success than my strengths, and I'm well aware of what they are. Believe me, I'm well aware of what they are, and so I look at those things and I'm like, okay, well, how can I sort of expound upon those weaknesses and make them eventual strengths?
Yeah,
and then eventually, like, what was a strength may become a weakness. You know,
yeah.
It's very interesting, man. It's an ebb and flow. It's a fascinating process and journey down those roads.
Has there been a riff on stage through your guys' tours in the last few years that you've all collectively, during or at the end, looked at each other like, holy fucking shit, like this is, and I wouldn't be surprised if you said a lot, but if there's one that you can pinpoint where you just were like, you got off stage or the end of the song and you kind of like took a breath and was like, that was, I can't believe I got to be a part of that.
Yeah, there are definitely moments like that.
Yeah.
There are definitely moments, many moments like that, I would say. Sometimes with guests that come through, sometimes, you know, just the seven of us. One of my favorite things to witness is looking across the ensemble, you know, because where I am on stage left with Rashawn, I'm at the far end.
Right.
So I look across, maybe Tim soloing, maybe Buddy, or maybe there's a vocal going on and we're not playing. And I watch everybody undulate together in the ensemble. I watch everybody is breathing together like this, you know, and those moments are the moments that I know that we are so in sync with one another, you know, that we are so locked in, that we are breathing in the same moment at the same respiration rate, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, and it's profound, man. I don't know if you've seen this thing of the metronomes, all these different metronomes synchronizing. Like they have, I don't know, it's like 40 or 50 metronomes, and they're somebody sets them off at different times, and they're all like, and eventually like chick, 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 chick,
Yeah.
all together. They somehow come together. Like you put a bunch of pendulum clocks in the same room, and they synchronize. Some weird shit in the universe, man.
Yeah.
You know, but that's what that reminds me of.
Favorite thing about the road, when the tour starts, and I know once things resume, you know, I'm sure those feelings will come all flooding back. When you guys get set to embark on a summer tour, what's going through your mind, body? Do you have some sort of 2-week prep leading up to it? And then once you get on the tour, what is that grind like?
Well, yeah, there's always preparation.
Yeah.
You know, making sure that everything is where it needs to be musically.
You guys rehearse quite a bit, yeah?
We do rehearse quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're always working on stuff. Always trying to improve our craft.
It's awesome.
But yeah, once we're on the road, you know, it's about the people. It's about being around each other and making music for people and for sharing that. My goal at the end of the night is to have an experience where I feel like I've been in the audience, and I want the audience to have an experience where they felt like they've been on stage.
Wow.
and that's my goal every night. And but to be around not only the guys in the band, but our crew, who are amazing. Huge shout out to our crew, the best crew in the world as far as I'm concerned.
Dude, well-oiled machine, man.
Unbelievable. And to get to see the fans night after night, to get to play music like that with those musicians night after night, I mean, it's a dream come true, man, quite honestly, for any musician. And none of us take it for granted. I will tell you that for sure.
I think your fans too, and I, am one of them that's just, been to so many shows and, do the thing that all DMB fans do, which I'm sure you guys joke about because you get to experience it firsthand. If someone gets access or you meet them unexpectedly, but in the crowd during the shows or when you camp out at the gorge, everyone's got 2004 fucking Atlanta, dude, Piedmont Park. Dude,
people have their favorite shows. Yeah,
everyone's their favorite shows, but they've got like a song and a date and a year, and it's like it's just it's insane that the amount of like the memory that people have and the consistent amount of shows that people go to, and then I'm sure at a certain point you guys recognize, these people are coming like for the gorge. When people go all 3 nights, you guys obviously brilliantly have so many songs to do. Probably 5 set lists that night that are all different. How conscious is it going into when you're at a place for like double nights like that, where you're like, all right, not only is the set list going to be different, but is there something going into like the energy of the show aside from it just being a different night that you're like, we got to make this different than last night?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. There has to be an arc to it, and if you come out the first night and it's just like the most blistering thing ever, then where do you go from there?
Yeah.
And so it's got to have motion and movement like an entity unto itself. And so it's a very conscious decision on Dave's part in particular. When he puts the set list together, then he checks with everybody, and sometimes things change a little bit, sometimes they don't. And but yeah, it's a very conscious decision to try to give the audience the highest level show that we possibly can every time we do it.
Has there been anyone that's reached out from your past or just, super famous? I don't know, man, Obama, somebody that you like.
Never met Obama. I'd love to.
Yeah, right. But somebody like in that realm that has like, that you've met at a show that is a fan that you're like, oh shit, this is crazy that our paths are crossing. Or someone that's hit you up on Instagram or, I don't know, fucking, Carmen Electra's like, yo, Coffin, dude, fucking, here's a couple nudie pics, dude. I appreciate what you're giving to the world. Let me know when that Cocarina wants to come out and play. Like any sort of surprise messages that make you go, God damn, this is a cool business.
Well, I remember like, I think it was last year at a gig. I can't remember where it was. Bill Walton showed up.
Oh my God.
And being from New England, like I remember looking over and Rashawn said, that's Bill Walton. I was like, holy shit, that's Bill Walton.
That's
so I mean, stuff like that happens, fairly often, fairly often. I mean, it's just weird, man. It's weird.
How was that Vegas gig?
It's great.
It looked, dude, I almost made the drive
really
over.
Fun.
Yeah, it looked, I mean, I didn't realize there was a venue in, what hotel was it again? The, not the Aria? No.
Oh God, what was it?
The Mystique, the fucking.
I can't. I think it's with an M. I can't remember. I'm so hungry right now. My blood sugar is starting to crash.
You go.
So I can't think of it. But it was there's a something room in that hotel.
It was intimate though, which is what I was so envious about, because like getting you guys in that setting is like, come on.
Yeah, it was really nice, man. Really nice for us.
Well, Jeff, you're the fucking man, dude. Thanks for making time.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, dude. It's good just to hang and chat with you. And I can't wait for shit to resume. So
we all feel the same way.
Yeah, man. And it will. And it's what's going to be crazy is that like I think there's going to be like this really cool wave of, especially for you guys. It's like your fans already being so diehard and committed. It's like there's going to be an even like bigger just appreciation on everyone's part that we're like getting back to that. and I can't wait.
And in the meantime, there's a lot of music that people can check out. I'm going to be releasing a lot more stuff.
You are.
In addition to the EP, the Songs of Solitude EP that's coming out today. I've got a bunch of singles that I'm in the middle of, and so there's going to be a lot of music coming out.
So jeffcoffin.com or Ears Up.
Ear Up Records.
Ear Up.
Yeah.
And to get all that and I'll
ITAstudiostreams.com is
every Friday, right?
Every Friday at 7 p.m. out of the studio, 7 p.m. Central.
Fuck yeah, dude. I'll plug that hard. I'll get all those links in there. And Songs of Solitude, go get it right now. And everyone get on Facebook, message Dave, say Songs of Solitude needs to make its way into the rotation on the set list.
There you go. We'll have a mellow set.
yeah, dude. All right, keep that goatee sharp. I appreciate you, man. It's good to see you.
You got it, brother. Appreciate you too, man.
Later, doggy.
Thanks, man.
See you soon.
Take care. Peace, bro.